Hey there guys, Next Gen Strike here, back in for another video. Sorry the lighting is crap, but I had to work until it was nighttime, so yeah, that's just how it is. So anyway, we're going to be talking about one of the dumbest things I think I've seen in a long time, and that's saying something. Because usually it's like, a certain group does something stupid or just some famous person. But no, this time it's actual critics. It's critic versus critic in this completely ludicrous thing that Fanboys have started and Grace has picked up. And of course, this video is about Grace Randolph. And I'm just disgusted, to be quite honest. I mean, let me give a little background, okay? I watch the Smos sometimes. I watch movie fights all the time with Screen Junkies. It's so entertaining. I love the Screen Junkies. And I watch Collider as well. So I'm very familiar with all the people that are involved in this on the oppressing side, okay? And, I've kept up with them. I know their opinions on all the superhero stuff. I've seen enough videos, right? And as far as Grace, she has a channel that's called Beyond the Trailer. And I did used to watch some of her videos, actually. It's been a long time, but I used to watch, and I remember watching her Son of Batman review and saying that it was a great movie and all this stuff. And, it's fine, she goes on, she gives her opinion. She tries to throw facts in there, at least from the older stuff that I watched. And I liked it. And I was also very glad that a woman was talking about comic books and all this stuff. Because, as you guys know, comic books have been deemed as a man's thing for so long, much like video games. And it's always nice to have a woman come along and, pretty much do the same job, just be a woman that's actually into it. I mean, guys like that, right? Guys like it when women are into their stuff. It's, at least I do. I can say that. So I think it's always great to include everybody because you don't want just guys, right? You want everybody. So I thought that was cool, and we've got some other women that do some really cool stuff that I'm into. So YouTube has been a great platform, right? But I stopped watching her. I can't remember why, but I stopped. I don't think I was ever subscribed, but I stopped watching her. And then I heard about her PG-13 petition for Deadpool. And I think that speaks for itself, really. If you guys don't know, basically she wanted to do this petition where Deadpool would release a PG-13 version. And it was all because of this kid that wrote this little letter, and they're like, I've been good. Please, Mommy, let me go see Deadpool. So her parents sent this to Grace or something. I can't exactly remember the details. And then Grace picked it up, and she's like, oh yeah, Marvel. Let's do a PG-13 Deadpool. First off, that would be completely against the character of Deadpool. And second, parents, learn your place, man. I mean, when a kid wants to play Grand Theft Auto, of course you let them. I mean, it's the modern age. Parents don't give a crap. They just give their kids something to do while they go off doing their delinquent parenting skills routine, right? And, I get that their kid wanted to see the movie, but, it's R. Just let him wait. You can't see everything. Like, if I was a kid and I wanted to go see The Terminator, which used to be rated R, my parents would be like, no, that's got nudity, it's got a lot of language, a lot of violence, no. So, yeah. Anyway, so moving off of that, because that's not even what this video is really about, but just to show some of the stupid stuff she's come up with lately, because this was very recent. Now she has started this campaign along with Fanboys, because Fanboys were the first ones to say this about Batman v Superman. As you guys know, a lot of people don't like it. Not just critics, because that was the first thing. Oh, the critics are paid off. What do you say about the audience approval, which is, by the way, lower than Man of Steel? Just think about that. Lower than Man of Steel. And you know how divisive that movie was. And by the way, I love Man of Steel. I put my review up of Batman v Superman so you guys can check that out, see all my thoughts. Just so you guys know that I'm also not on this DC hate train thing that supposedly exists. It's, I run into it a lot, actually, on my videos. Every time you criticize anything, you are labeled a hater and you are labeled to be against whatever it is because people just can't handle opinions. Now, I was always under the impression that this was an uneducated fanboy mentality because anyone with a brain cell can comprehend and think, oh, maybe someone doesn't have the same opinion as me. Maybe there are people that can actually be critics, and can actually point out the flaws in something. And that's what I always do. I always point out the flaws, and if the good outweighs the bad, I like it. If the bad outweighs the good, I don't like it. Simple. And then there's Batman v Superman, which I was, leaning more towards, I think, the positive, but not really a very good movie, to be quite honest. So, yeah, a lot of people were like that, and that's kind of how the critics were too. They were like, yeah, this movie has some good stuff, but it's just a jumbled mess. And people didn't accept that. They're like, oh, you're paid off by Marvel, you're paid off by Disney. And these people don't seem to realize that that would have some serious ramifications. First off, if you guys have looked up these individual critics, I can guarantee you that they have not always given the greatest reviews to Marvel stuff. I mean, it just doesn't happen, right? Second, that would be a lot of money to waste just to get someone to say it was good. I mean, think about how many critics there are for each Marvel movie, for each Disney movie, because you also got to think, Disney owns everything. So that's not just Star Wars, it's not just Marvel, it's everything. They got like all their movies because they want good publicity, right? Think about how ridiculous that is. And think about just if that came out. Their credibility would be ruined. The Better Business Bureau would be after them. The government would probably be after them too. There'd be lawsuits all over the place. Disney would stop existing, basically. I mean, I don't know how big the lawsuits would be, but it would make them very crippled as a business if they would even last past that, because I'm sure nobody would want to work with them. So you think that not only do they pay people to rate their reviews and movies high, but they also pay people to rate them low, right? Yeah. Okay. And, a lot of this comes from just the simple fact that people think, oh, this hate train existed for Batman v Superman as soon as it was announced. You know why? Do you know why that was? Because a lot of people, now this wasn't the critics, okay? This was the fans that people were saying this about. Fans who were really excited for Man of Steel and have seen how great Marvel has done with their movies for the most part, and they're not perfect, but how they've integrated the universe and separate movies and really taken their time and built this grand master plan. Those same comic book fans, because this is a newsflash, but most people don't have brand loyalty. They might prefer DC to Marvel, but most people just like something that's good. I mean, that's how I am. If there's a good Marvel movie, I'm going to like it. If there's a good DC movie, I'm going to like it. If there's a good action movie, I'm going to like it, etc., etc. So people that are, in with the brand love thing, they're children. They're children. Because same thing with the video game war things, like, oh, I can only own a PlayStation 4, really just own all of them because they all have good games, whatever. So this mentality came out, right? And people think that, everyone's been buying off these reviews. And it was a thing, and people were like, oh, people are buzzing because throughout all the trailers and stuff, me included, I was very skeptical because we already had Man of Steel, which underperformed, both critically and financially. Well, I think it underperformed financially because they expected it to hit, I think more or less Avenger numbers almost, or at least like the Marvel movies, and it didn't. So DC was disappointed, and then they came out with this, still had Zack Snyder, and there were a lot of production things where they had to go back, rewrite the movie, do this, do that, cramming all this stuff in. I mean, people were right to be skeptical, and it's the same with any movie. You have to prove that you have done a good job and show that you are continuing to do so to get credibility. I mean, that's just how it works. And you also have to think DC was doing every single thing they could to be controversial with Batman v Superman. They were doing it on purpose because they saw the publicity and they're like, oh, let's ride this thing home. Let's get Ben Affleck to play Batman, which he was great. Let's get Jesse Eisenberg to play the Joker. A lot of people didn't like that. And they got all the Justice League in there, crammed in, and, editing, going crazy, blah, 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 okay? And Grace Randolph is one of these people that not only is toting about how crazy this is, right? She's like, oh, people are so against DC. They have an agenda against DC. No, most people, not sure if fanboys are, don't even really talk about fanboys because some people are just like that. Some people kill people, right? But that doesn't mean that all of us are murderers, right? So aside from the fanboys, logical people just like a movie if it's good or not. And logical people like Batman and Spider-Man, okay? They don't just like Batman or just like Spider-Man. That's ridiculous. And the fact is that she's a critic. And what's really funny is that she used to work for Marvel and she got fired. So I think that's where part of this comes in. But basically, she has this sort of baby mentality of, you don't agree with me, therefore you're bought off and your opinion is wrong. You can't have legitimate criticism. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. Being a critic, being someone that's actually somewhat big, I would consider, and does all this stuff, I'm just like, really? You know how this stuff works. You have to. And on top of that, on top of all this stuff, right, on top of just being a complete loon, right, she belongs in Arkham Asylum with her DC buddies. That'd be a great fit for her, really. With this sort of mindset, I'm kind of like, where does this come from? Okay, so aside from that, aside from doing this absolutely ridiculous stuff, saying that there's an agenda, saying that people are being bought off and all this stuff, I'm like, come on. She also drags in the movie critics I talked about earlier, the Schmoes, Screen Junkies, Collider and John Campea, all them. She drags them in it too. Because, you know why? Because Collider came on and said, Collider is like kind of a combination of all of them, aside, I don't think Screen Junkies really does much with them, but they collaborate, but Screen Junkies people don't go on Collider typically. And Collider got asked the question, do you think there's a bias? They said, no, that's ridiculous. People don't buy people off. They never mentioned Grace. They just said it like that. And then Grace said, oh, that must be about me because I'm insane. Well, indirectly it's about you, but you trying to make yourself out to be the star and on top of that, the victim. Which, yeah, I'm going to put tweets of hers that she's put up through the video of just some of these insane things that she's been saying. And crazy. Just like, what? And she's pretty much just went on the offensive against all these people. I mean, you guys should all be on the same team and just say that it's a good movie or a bad movie and who cares what anyone else says. I mean, that's how most people should be. Like, even when the critics say something's bad, you still go and see the movie. Unless everybody, I mean, sometimes that doesn't work. But with something like Batman v Superman, you're going to want to see it because you're a comic book fan, right? You want to see if it's really that bad or if it's good or decent or whatever. And it just blows my mind that she is so just, I don't even know how to say it. She just thinks that it's all about her and that every time someone says anything, that they are wrong, that they are victimizing her, and I don't know what else to say. I don't know. It's just insane to me that someone of higher intelligence, which I would consider her, would say these insane things. I don't know what to say. I mean, that would be like if another YouTube friend of mine, like a Neo GameSpark, he came out and said, well, everybody hates DC, they must be paid off. And then he called out me and he's like, Next Gen Striker, he didn't review Batman v Superman the way I wanted him to, therefore he's paid off. You see how ridiculous that sounds? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Nobody was paid off. People just have an opinion. The movie's not very good. Live in reality, wake up. Or better yet, go to the North Pole. It's a pun on the last name. But, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, this isn't really, it's mainly about her, right? The rant is supposed to be about her, even though I kind of talked about her later in the video, but really any fanboy, because you have to be a fanboy to have a mentality that ridiculous, if you really think that people are paid off and just don't like the movie because they're paid off, you need to wake up, okay? People have been reviewing these movies for decades. And I can guarantee you, if you go and look on their track record, they will agree with audiences most of the time with their picks. They will say the first 2 Superman movies are good movies. They will say the first 2 Batman movies were good movies. Which, again, I don't always agree with the critics, but that's what most people at least somewhat felt, right? Or at least thought that those movies were decent. They didn't like Batman Forever and Batman Robin. They didn't like Iron Man 2 very much. They didn't like, what's some other ones? I mean, there's like a million things. I'm sure there's ones on Marvel too. People aren't too good about the Thor movies. I don't think their criticisms were that great about that. I don't think they liked The Incredible Hulk, to my memory. It goes on. You know, there were problems with the Avengers, right? People were pointing out the flaws in Avengers. Do you think that they would be paid off? No, they wouldn't. So stop with this ludicrous ideology and, I don't know, just get off Twitter, first off. And secondly, you need to just issue an apology or maybe say that I'm just a loon, because you representing all of us, the fans, is just distasteful. So if anyone takes you seriously after all this nonsense, and I think it's still going on, I mean, she's had Twitter wars with so many critics on YouTube. Not official, like, Washington Post critics, but, like, YouTube critics. I mean, if you honestly side with her, I don't see it. I don't see it. But I don't have anything personal against her. To be honest, I don't. If she feels a certain way, whatever. I don't care. It's just when she brings in other people on this, it's gone too far. It's gone too far. You know, if I really liked Batman and Robin, that's my opinion, right? But if I go out and say, well, everybody's an idiot because they don't agree with me, wouldn't you have a problem with that? I think you would. So I think I've said the point far enough. You guys should understand it. I mean, it's ridiculous. So anyway, that's all I had for now. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thumbs up if you like, subscribe if you like, comment below, let me know your thoughts on this madness. And I'll catch you guys later.